Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the June Tech Talk, creating a culture of assessment in your, Terry, you went forward in your
Yeah,
slide. There we go. Creating a culture of assessment in your blended learning class. My name is Jamie Trujillo. I will be moderating the webinar, and this will be presented by Terry Gustafson. Before we get started, I just wanted to make sure that everybody puts their name and program name in the chat so that you can receive credit for viewing this webinar. I will also be moderating the chat, so if you have any questions as we go through the webinar, if I can answer them, I will do so. If not, we will save them for the end of the webinar. And with that, I will turn it over to Terry.
Hi, good afternoon. We actually have a lot to cover today, so I did a lot of research for creating a culture of assessment, and we're going to just jump right in. If there are any problems with sound, please let Jamie know, and we will get right on it and fix it. So this is creating a culture of assessment in your blended learning class. These are the different topics we're going to discuss today or try to get to, and that's an introduction. What is formative assessment? A definition of formative assessment, a little history, what the difference is between formative versus summative, and we're going to talk about the relationship between the two, the benefits of formative assessment, different formative assessment in terms of blended learning. We'll discuss areas such as portfolios, discussions, rubrics, progress checklists, top tech tools for formative assessment, Google Tools, which is great for formative assessment, and Kahoot for formative assessment. So let's move right along. This is a man who is giving a video assessment to his class. This man is doing a parody of the Old Spice guy, and his name is Derek McLaughlin. He provides assessment for his biochemistry class. So is this your idea of assessment?
Hello, students. You may be wondering, are our marks in this course affected by whether we smell like Old Spice and not like lady-scented body washes? The answer is no, that would be silly, because many students in the course are actually ladies and should smell like ladies. Besides which, assessment based on smell is against several Senate regulations. In reality, your mark in this course will be determined as follows. There's a midterm test worth 42.5%, a final exam worth 42.5%, and 3 assignments, each worth 5%. There are no marks for clicker participation. However, answering clicker questions in class will enrich your millennial generation lives in a way that only pushing buttons on a small technological device can. If you do not write the midterm test at the regularly scheduled time, or one of the 2 scheduled makeup times, you will have to write a comprehensive final exam, covering the entire course and worth 85% of your mark. Does that thought scare you? Like the thought of all the candy factories in the world being blown up by an evil anti-candy madman, causing a worldwide shortage of candy, and thus mass rioting in the streets? Maybe it should. Maybe it should. And one final thing. The all-wise Supreme Commander of second-year biochemistry, Dr. Chris Brandel, will not increase your mark because you need a certain average to get into medical school, dental school, bartending school, or that other school you really have your heart set on attending. He just can't do this because then he'd have to raise everyone else's mark to be fair. And then someone else would ask for an increase, and pretty soon everyone in the course would get 100%. Now, Dr. Brandel is a very nice guy, but that's asking just a little too much, don't you think?
I thought
Hello, students.
I thought this was a very funny way of telling your students exactly what you expect from them, and was a good start to this. An introduction to formative assessment. We have one essential question here. What can teachers do to effectively engage learners and assess understanding? Blended and online learning environments kind of provide instructors with significant challenges regarding the engagement and assessment of their learners. Now in the 21st century, it's a little bit more difficult when you're assessing. Today's technology products have mechanisms to collect a wealth of information about a learner. Although many report that they saw this information as the greatest potential technology had to give, unfortunately, many instructors do not make use of the data and wish they had more time to do the analysis. So the consensus is that while data is important, we should not operate in a data-driven culture. Instead, we should operate in sort of a data-informed culture where data informs our instruction as opposed to driving it. Done effectively, data used can shed a light on the skills and areas that students struggle with and help a teacher to understand which approaches are working and which approaches are not working. From this information that we gather, an intervention can be designed that can focus on the students' problem areas, showing them or allowing for a truly personalized learning experience. So we're going to get right to the definition of what is formative assessment. Formative assessment is generally defined as a process used by teachers that provides feedback by which they can adjust ongoing teaching and learning to improve achievement during the process of instruction. Assessment from research at the University of London has outlined 5 different formative assessment strategies needed to improve students' learning. Number 1, they must clarify and share learning intentions and criteria for success with your students and be clear about it. Secondly, develop discussion, tasks, and activities that elicit evidence of learning. 3, provide feedback to students that move their learning forward. 4, activate students as instructional resources for each other. And 5, encourage students to take ownership of their own learning. What exactly makes an assessment formative? The formative assessment process involves not just the teacher, but both the teacher and the student answering the following questions regarding student learning. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I now? And how do I get here from here to there? So these are the essential things that you need to do when you do formative assessment. Okay, so we're going to do a little history about formative assessment. I'm going to start it off with a quiz. So in the chat box, I'd like you to answer this question if you know. What was the first electronic device used for formative assessment? Go ahead and type your responses in the chat box, and we'll get Jamie to tune in and see if we get some common answers. So I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and type those in. And Jamie, if you could let me know when we get some responses. If we get some responses, that'd be great.
I absolutely will. We do have some viewers. So yes, please, if you have a guess, put it in the chat. I am moderating the chat so I can see your responses. Although I have to say, nobody has given me their names or program names yet.
Oh, no.
I'm hoping I'll start seeing that soon.
I hope so, too. We'd like to give them credit for watching the webinar if we can. So that's a good idea. Professional development.
Yes.
Jamie, you want to take a guess?
Gosh, is this cheating? I say clickers.
Yes, it is cheating because you have seen the answer before.
Yes.
And that is correct. So if any of you out there thought about clickers, yes, that was the first electronic solution to formative assessment. Was the audience response system developed in the early 1970s. And such systems like this tracked individual responses, displayed polling results, confirmed understanding of key points, and gathered data for reporting and analysis. These little handheld dedicated systems allowed students to input responses to questions posed by their instructor. The instructor would receive immediate statistics on the student performance, whether it be a true, false, multiple choice, or a short answer question. Studies have shown that they improved student participation, they improved attendance and learning with the use of these response systems. So here's just a little video about a brief assessment of, or a brief history of assessment.
In the beginning, assessment was simple. We'd give something a try. It was obvious when we did not succeed. And it was obvious when we did. This became known as learning. Then formal education arrived. And we invented universities and lecture halls, lesson plans, and final exams. We tested students to see if they learned anything. And then we assessed our own effectiveness as teachers through anecdotal questionnaires and subjective end-of-semester surveys. And this might have been enough when we were graduating high school and college students to take predictable jobs with predictable career paths. But today, educators and students are part of a rapidly changing world. 21st century learners must be able to synthesize knowledge, communicate clearly with others, and create solutions to problems that we don't even know exist, which means students need personalized, engaging, useful feedback on meaningful work, not multiple choice exams and unexplained letter grades. So whether you're teaching accountants, engineers, artists, welders, scientists, or nurses, your students need detailed feedback on meaningful work so they can become learners, not simply graduates.
So I thought this was a very good introduction to where we are now when it comes to formative assessment, because learning can't be just facts when the facts that matter don't yet exist. So what is the difference between two different assessments, a formative versus a summative assessment? I like this quote a lot. We don't learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. And this kind of leads up to the difference between formative and summative. And we have summative, which is, I have words here, the backbone of accountability, high stakes testing. Basically, summative assessments are generally high stakes tests. They're used to determine students' grades and class-wide or school-wide performance. They usually measure mastery of some predetermined content or standards and are the backbone of accountability systems at all academic levels. Formative assessments are embedded within the instruction, your curriculum, and are directly linked to teaching and learning as it occurs. They're there to identify gaps in understanding, and they're used by students and teachers to make adjustments to improve student learning and achievement as it occurs. These different types of assessments are usually done frequently in order to provide teachers and both students with timely feedback on progress. What makes formative assessment formative is that it is immediately used to make adjustments to your instruction. The results of the learners during the construction of it's there to transform instruction and to change it during the construction of understanding. So there is a relationship between formative assessment, and it's a very important relationship. What you'll see here is a chart that kind of shows you the relationship between the two. So we have standards, what students should know and be able to do as identified by the statewide academic standards. These are considered your summative assessments. Formative are the learning targets or statements of intended learning based on the standards, so they should both actually reflect the same objectives. Formative and summative assessments should both serve the same learning goals, and this is how they're connected. The assessment students use as they develop, practice, and learn should be based on the same knowledge and skills that they ultimately demonstrate for a grade. Okay, so in understanding by design, the emphasis is put on designing learning and instruction and assessment around desired understandings. So these desired understandings are the learning targets that should focus both formative and summative. So let's dive into the benefits of formative assessment. Research on the use of formative assessment has shown that when teachers practice good formative assessment and students participate in it, both achievement and motivation will increase. So formative assessment helps identify what students can do with or how they can be helped and what they can do independently. Participating in formative assessment involves students in active learning, keeps them on task, and focuses them on their learning goals. Formative assessments like peer evaluation and self-evaluation in particular help students with the social construction of knowledge. But more importantly, formative assessment allows students to receive feedback on precisely what they need to do to improve. It shows them what they need to do next to get better, carrying out their plans for improvement, and can only help but make them feel more in control of things. This process, of course, is called self-regulation, and that is a characteristic of successful, motivated learners. Learning to learn. It's all about metacognition. When students can monitor their own learning and make some of their own decisions about what they need to do next, they're using metacognitive skills. Now, I don't know if anybody else has the problem. If I ask a student normally where they are and as far as their skills go, they're really not too good at self-assessing themselves. So this is a very good idea to have a lot of formative assessment. So they can self-assess themselves. Formative assessment and blended learning. So we're going to talk about different things that we can do. We can do portfolios, discussions, progress checklists, and rubrics. So if any of you had a chance to participate in this poll, I'm actually going to go and update it because it's one of these live things that will get updated as people fill out the poll. So we're going to see where everybody in the audience is when it comes to which assessments they use. So it's looking like it's pretty even all the way around. The one part that's empty are journals. So I guess a lot of people do not use journals for self-assessment. We have one at 13.8. That's the blue one, teacher-created tests. So most of us are using teacher-created tests, which is good, but you want to offer a variety of assessments and different modalities of assessment so you can get a true understanding of where your student is. Sometimes writing, a student can maybe present themselves better doing something else like a presentation instead of writing, or maybe they're better at observing and doing a poster or something. So that's important to give them all kinds of ways that they can be assessed. Portfolios are a good start. Portfolios can track and demonstrate progress, provide additional evaluation information to guide the instruction in a blended learning scenario, and they can extend classroom-based learning to out-of-class or online work. So some of the things you might want to include in a portfolio are samples of the student's work, activities and projects they've done, self-reflection tools such as inventories they've taken, checklists or logs. Performance-based products can be used, such as resumes, especially when you're doing something that is work-based curriculum. So having that, a mock interview in there would be a good idea. And it shows the student also how far they've come when you have work like that in there. Another good thing to use is, this is almost have to use, online discussions. So online discussions before or after class enable you to assess your students because you're getting constant feedback and you're getting their opinions and feelings about the subject you're teaching and what's going on in the class and the topics. So in a traditional class, homework is kind of hard to follow up on. So in a blended learning environment, it's good to use discussions because as a result, it connects what you've learned inside the class with what they're learning outside the class. It also allows you to maintain contact while you're not in the physical classroom, which in turn kind of promotes the sharing of ideas, information, and ongoing timely feedback from teacher to student, student to teacher, student to student. So the key is to take advantage of the overlap between the two learning spaces, the online class and the traditional class. So we'll move on to checklists, progress checklists. These are skills checklists that can show a student's progress while they're in a program or in a course. The checklists are visual representations of their learned skills, and they can build students' self-confidence in terms of their ability to learn and be successful with what they're doing, actually. My favorite, rubrics. Rubrics provide detailed explanations of an assignment using an online rubric can assist students in both completing their tasks and thinking about their performance. If you haven't done any rubrics yet, or if you'd like to create one, they have some great websites. One is Rubistar, and another is Digital Media Scoring Guides, where you can go and just duplicate one for your needs or create one of your own from scratch. So rubrics are good because they allow the instructor to focus on learning throughout the whole project rather than the fancy finished product at the end. Top tech tools for formative assessment. Here's a little short video of some great tips for formative assessment.
You know what I love about formative assessment apps? They're like an energy drink for your lesson. True, but like with energy drinks, the buzz doesn't last long and learning only goes so far. Yeah, I'll give you that. Kids do have a tendency to finish the quiz and just move on. The whole thing ends up being more formative for teachers than for students. Yep, if you want to push learning further, you got to show them that it's not the quiz that counts, but the thinking that happens after. That has a nice ring to it, but what would that actually look like? Whoa, listen, I'm just the ideas guy. You're the one who actually does stuff. Okay, ideas guy, you've inspired me. Here's something. Start with a quiz, but then do a quick online poll about the quiz right after. Use your app's polling feature to gauge how students feel about how they did. Yeah, makes sense. You could ask stuff like, how hard was the quiz? How confident are you feeling? Did you feel prepared? You could also use the responses to differentiate future lessons or match up students who could support each other. Here's another idea. Get a discussion going after a quiz that focuses not just on what happened, but on what to do next. Right, students are feeling less confident could talk about what was challenging and zero in on specific ways to improve. And more confident students could talk about how to push their understanding even further. That's cool because it would really shift the focus from scores or grades to honest self-assessment. Okay, one more tip. After a quiz, give students 1 or 2 short prompts that look to the future. Something like, what do you still need to know? Or what do you want to know more about? And ask them to respond with questions of their own. That's great because you're basically getting students to articulate their learning goals and motivating them to go out and find the answers. Yup, it's a bit more inquiry-based, and it'd be a great way to kick off some project-based learning. 3 solid suggestions, and here's the kicker. They really make use of all the app's features. Quizzes to hook students and check understanding, polls to gauge confidence, discussions to self-assess and ask questions, and real-time data to differentiate learning. Not bad, right? Not bad.
Okay, so that was a quick review of different things that you can use. What we're going to do next is I'm going to show you some apps that you can also use. Some of you might have heard some of these already. Pear Deck, build interactive slideshows to assess and engage learning. Poll Everywhere is very easy and simple to use. It's a straightforward student response tool for surveying and polling. Nearpod is also another Pear Deck where there's interactive slideshow tools that engage and promote collaboration. Edpuzzle allows you to upload YouTube videos to it and then insert questions in between, and they have to answer them before they can move on. Formative is a real-time assessment tool. Socrative, a snapshot quizzes and questions that measure student learning. But the best thing to use is if you are part of NMDL, you have a Google Apps for Education for formative assessment. This is the best thing for blended learning. It gives you the data from students instantly. The continuous formative assessment model wouldn't be possible without the development of these free collaborative web-based spreadsheets, documents, presentations, and drawings. Online tools like these allow teachers to develop online documents and share editing privileges. They provide a platform for formative assessment for both the teacher and the student, and they always have immediate access to that. Why use Google Drive? Where it's anytime, anywhere, any device. And don't we want our students to be able to have more opportunity to learn? They automatically save your doc. You don't have to click file save all the time. They're all in one place. You can always find them. They're always up to date with Google Drive. They're always constantly improving it and updating it. It provides authentic audiences if you use some of their apps like Google Classroom. And it ultimately facilitates collaboration within and beyond the classroom. So this you can communicate either real time or asynchronously. So this is like, wouldn't have blended learning wouldn't be possible, I don't think, without this. So formative assessments can take all kinds of forms when it comes to Google Docs. And here's just a few. Bell ringers, exit tickets, writing prompts with documents and templates you can share, stage group feedback with Google Forms, chat exchanges with Google Docs and Google Hangouts, draft readiness, pre-flight checklists, which was a new idea for me. Do they have everything they need to learn first? Peer editing. So we're jumping into Google Forms. A good formative assessment allows you to be quickly responsive to your students' needs. And Form gives you that ability. It allows you to use the data from students instantly as soon as they press submit. Students' answers are together in one spreadsheet, and it provides a really good snapshot of how the students are understanding and how they're doing. This is conditional format. It's within Google Forms. It's a little feature that's offered in order to quickly kind of get a snapshot. It uses color coding.
Google Forms is simply amazing because it takes the answers or responses from the form and drops them into a spreadsheet where you can quickly and easily manipulate data to find out certain things about your population. So you can see here in my column C, some of the teachers, core teachers in fact, are highlighted in yellow. That's because I've applied a rule called conditional formatting. This allows me to quickly identify which teachers are in fact core teachers and maybe treat them a bit differently than I would an administrator or instructional aide. I do this by choosing the column in which I would like to conditionally format. On the upper right-hand corner, an arrow appears when I hover over it, and I can select that and go to conditional formatting. In this case, I've asked, how many years have you worked in education? Well, I might want to give special reverence to those teachers who have been teaching over 10 years. So I'll put the text has greater than 10, and the background then would be, I'm going to give them a purple, my favorite color, and I save that rule.
So that's basically how you do that conditional formatting. Because I'm running out of some time here, you can find this video, and I have this in my sheets here if you want to rewind and when you're looking over the recording. So next would be
now.
Oops, sorry about that. So we'll go to the next slide because there's some important things. One of the things that I found out there are some freebies. You don't have to create your own forms. There is a Google Innovator project that has a collection of various formative templates to use, and you just need to make a copy of them and download them onto your drive. So if you have downloaded them onto your drive, once you have the link, there are tons of different 1-question, 2-question forms that can be used for formative assessment to get a quick snapshot of things. And as soon as they come up, as you can see, there is a bunch. So we have exit tickets, free rights, burning question, background knowledge. I'll click on one of these really quickly so you can see. Or, of course, you can create one of your own. So here's an exit ticket. These are free. You just need to copy them. He wants to get the more help he can get out there because he's an innovator, the better. So it's a little slow opening up, but most of these are 1 or 2 questions. So it gives you a quick look at how your students are doing. Okay, it's a little slow opening up. Oh, it's wanting me to wait. So we're going to exit that page actually and go back to the... Oh, we got the all snap.
And you know, while we're waiting on that, while you're reloading that, Terry, I just wanted to jump in really quickly because it looks like some of you are having issues even accessing your chat. So I just wanted to let you know that if you're watching this from a computer, on the left side of, or I'm sorry, on the right side of your screen, your other left, on the right side of the screen, you're going to see an option called Top Chat or Live Chat. You can click on either one of those and the chat will show up on the right. If you are watching from a mobile device, such as a phone or a tablet, make sure that you're watching the video with it in portrait orientation. So not where you turn it sideways and the video is bigger, turn it to where the video is smaller. And at the bottom of your screen, you can see a top chat. It says top chat with a little upward arrow. Click on that and you can access the chat.
Thank you so much for letting us know that. That is going to be very informative. And we are back to where we were. And it's loading. I should have a loading song while it's doing this. So we just talked about some freebies that we have for formative assessment that you can download. And I want to get right into another really easy app that you can use for formative assessment. That's Kahoots. I don't know if you're living under a rock, you probably haven't heard of Kahoots, but most people have heard of Kahoots. It's very popular. And when it comes to checking for understanding, it's the best and most fun thing to do. So Kahoots you can make to combine questions, images, videos. You can create self-grading quizzes and surveys. Students really enjoy the gamified features of this site, including the individualized feedback, leaderboards, and the chance that they can get to compete with other students. So the goals of their assessment is to engage students with material in the new format. They wanted a platform where they could provide immediate feedback, and they wanted to save students' responses so the teacher can look at it at a later time. So when you go into Kahoots, there's different types that you can create. Some are quiz. Quiz are good for introducing and reviewing and rewarding. Surveys are good for gathering opinions on a topic or to get background knowledge. Discussions initiate and facilitate debate, and you get an idea of the opinions that your students have. And Jumble, which is a brand new game, it challenges players to place answers in the correct order rather than selecting one answer. So we have a new app, a mobile app for Kahoots, where you can assign Kahoots as homework with the challenge feature. One of the nice things about Kahoots is it has a lot of video tutorials that you can use. And they have a brand new thing called a blind Kahoot, which are designed to teach new material in an engaging and impactful way. And if you were to go and get an account, what a blind Kahoot is, it's very simple. Somebody has created a template here. If you wanted to make a blind Kahoot, all you need to do is go and duplicate it. It's called How to Blind Kahoot. And you can create one of your own just by filling in the questions. So it tells you exactly what to do. Replace this with a question. So this will take you through some assessments that are very easy and fast when it comes to formative assessments. Going back to my slide. Okay. Reports. Kahoot has an ability to give you reports. You can download reports in a spreadsheet and turn what homework challenges are into formative assessments. They do need to have the mobile app if they do want to do the homework and if you want to create something with homework. But what the student can do once they've done their homework is challenge people to challenge other students to do other quizzes. So understanding what's mastered, it spots areas that require more attention, and it lets you see where students need a bit of extra guidance. And so we are going to move to the next one because we've ran out of time, I believe. So any of the videos I've showed are probably on the Kahoot site as far as video tutorials. Do sign up for Kahoots. It's the fastest way to get a good formative assessment. I'd like to thank you for joining again. If you have any suggestions for the next webinar, please email me at terry@nmdelt.org. And come on out and check out our website and blog at www.nmdelt.org, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter and see what we're up to these days. Jamie?
Thank you so much, Terry. Ooh, I hear myself. Okay. Sorry about that. So we still don't have anything in the chat. So I apologize if anybody is watching, you're still having issues accessing the chat. You can absolutely email Terry with questions, and she will be happy to answer them for you. Same thing if you're watching this video not live. If you're watching it from our website, you can email Terry with any questions you have. And hopefully everybody, learned something. I know I did. So thank you all so much for joining.
I do have a survey. Look in your email soon. Look out for a survey that, end of webinar survey to wrap it all up if you like.
Perfect.
Well,
all right. So yes, definitely look for that. We will be taking a break from Tech Talks for the summer break. We don't know exactly when our next Tech Talk will be. So please just look for some emails, most likely in August, although we may have one in July. So just, keep looking out for emails on those. We will definitely let you know when the next Tech Talks are. Terry, did you have anything else?
No, have a great summer. Put on sunscreen.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great summer, everyone. Bye-bye.